If you want to improve your life, you need to start thinking bigger and acting differently every single day. This audiobook is a guide to doing exactly that. It shows you how to set goals that challenge you, develop habits that support real growth, and train your mind to expect success instead of doubt. You will learn how to replace limiting thoughts with bold, confident ideas about your future, and how to take daily action that actually moves you closer to the life you want. Every chapter is designed to give you practical steps you can start using immediately. You will discover how to face fear without letting it control you, how to speak with confidence so others take your ideas seriously, and how to surround yourself with people who push you to aim higher. You will also learn how to create routines that build discipline, strengthen resilience, and turn small efforts into lasting results. By committing to growth, focus, and purposeful living, you can reshape how you approach challenges, how you spend your time, and how you see what is possible. This audiobook doesn't just give advice, it gives a clear path for action. If you follow it consistently, you will begin to notice real change in your habits, your confidence, and the results you achieve. Stay with this guide, apply what you learn every day, and you will find that thinking big is not just an idea, it's a practical way to create a stronger, more successful, and more fulfilling life. Chapter 1. Choose bigger goals that demand courage and daily action. Choosing bigger goals that demand courage and daily action starts with a clear decision to stop aiming for small, safe wins and to accept the responsibility of shaping a future that matters to you. This decision is not dramatic or theatrical. It is quiet, serious, and consistent. It is a choice to treat life like practice and to treat time like an asset that compounds. The first work is not the goal itself. The first work is the inner agreement you make with yourself that your life will no longer drift on impulse or on other people's schedules. Make that agreement now and then move through concrete steps that turn intention into reliable daily behavior. A big goal is specific, measurable, and time-bound. If the goal is vague, then progress will be vague. Replace broad statements like build confidence or get healthy with specific outcomes, such as increase bench press by 20 kilograms in 6 months, complete a professional certification by October, or save a defined sum by the end of the year. Specific targets produce focused action. Write one clear goal that you can describe in a single sentence, and that includes a deadline. Put that sentence where you will see it every day. The simple act of writing a specific target transforms a wish into a task. Courage is not absence of fear. Courage is the willingness to act in the presence of fear. When a big goal appears intimidating, it is normal to feel a tightening in the chest, a quickening of breath, and a mind that offers reasons to delay. Name these feelings. Labeling emotion reduces its power. Say in a sentence, I feel nervous about this step, and then identify the smallest next action that moves you forward. Fear becomes a signal, not a stop sign. Use it to calibrate the size of the next step rather than to defeat you. Daily action is the engine that moves big goals forward. A single hour of focused work each day produces vastly more results than sporadic bursts that burn out quickly. Pick a daily minimum that is realistic and non-negotiable. For many goals, 20 to 45 minutes of focused work is sufficient to maintain momentum. Design a ritual around that time. Arrive at the ritual the same way each day. Close the door or put on a specific piece of clothing or sit in the same chair. The ritual teaches the body and mind to shift into action. Small, consistent effort compounds into visible progress. Break the big goal into measurable milestones. A milestone is a short-term achievement that is both challenging and attainable within a fixed time frame. Create a map of milestones across months and weeks. Each milestone should have criteria for success that you can measure. If the goal is to master a skill, identify the specific competency that marks each milestone. If the goal is financial, define the savings or earnings target for each month. Tracking milestones gives clarity and prevents the overwhelming sense that comes from staring at a distant horizon. Design immediate daily tasks that feed the milestones. Each morning, choose 3 tasks that most directly move you toward the next milestone. Make one of those tasks the smallest action that has the highest likelihood of being completed. This creates a series of built wins that sustain motivation. Keep the tasks visible and short. Crossing them off a list provides proof of progress and reduces the weight of the big goal. Adopt a journal practice that records process more than judgment. At the end of each day, write 3 short lines. Note 1 specific action completed, 1 lesson learned, and 1 obstacle encountered. This habit creates evidence of forward motion and surfaces recurring problems. When obstacles repeat, look for patterns and then alter the structure of action. If energy fades late in the day, move the daily action to morning. If distraction is the problem, eliminate or block the distraction source during action time. The journal is the laboratory notebook of personal growth. Treat it as essential data. Measure progress with objective signals, not feelings. Feelings fluctuate and can mislead. Signals are concrete and repeatable. Examples of signals include scores, practice test results, word count, sales, calls completed, or kilograms lifted. Choose 2 primary signals that will be your truth tellers. Record those numbers daily or weekly. Use them to make small course corrections. If progress stalls, examine the inputs, not the goal. Adjust the daily tasks, the ritual, or environmental supports. Avoid changing the target because progress is slow. Change the plan. Create environmental scaffolding that reduces friction and increases the odds of action. Arrange the physical and digital environment so that the desired action requires fewer steps than the counterproductive option. If the goal is to write, remove distractions by turning off notifications and placing the phone in another room. Keep the workstation ready and the research materials in a single folder. If the goal is fitness, prepare clothes and equipment the night before and schedule the time in the calendar as a meeting you cannot move. If saving money, automate transfers to a savings account. Small reductions in friction yield dramatic increases in follow-through. Commit to a rule of progressive overload in your habits. This principle, borrowed from physical training, is simple. Increase the demand gradually so that the body or skill adapts. If current daily writing is 500 words, increase to 600, then 700. If current push-ups are 10, add 1 or 2 each week. The incremental increases keep the task challenging and prevent plateau. Track the increases and treat them as experiments. If an increase causes burnout, revert to the previous level and adjust the pace of growth. Hold regular review sessions to keep the strategy honest. At the end of each week, take 30 minutes to review the journal, the signals, and the upcoming milestones. Ask direct questions. Which action produced the most progress this week? Which distraction consumed the most time? What small change next week would likely produce better results? Planning and review are not indulgences. They are the feedback loop that prevents wasted repetition. Make review a ritual and use it to make 1 specific adjustment each week. Build courage by rehearsing discomfort in controlled doses. Stoic practice recommends brief, deliberate exposure to mild hardships to reduce the fear of the unknown. Choose a small, uncomfortable action related to your goal and perform it regularly. If public speaking is a fear, deliver a 3-minute talk in a small online group. If cold showers feel relevant to mental toughness, take a brief cold shower once a week. The goal is not pain for its own sake. The goal is to decouple the emotional reaction from the action. The presence of discomfort will no longer automatically derail progress. Use language that frames the goal as a responsibility. Replace wishful phrases like "I hope to" with firm phrases like "I will." Responsibility creates accountability inside the mind. When a task is framed as a responsibility, argue only with evidence, not excuses. If a scheduled action is missed, record why and then return to the plan. Avoid moralizing about failure. A missed workout is a missed workout. Note the cause, adjust context, and proceed. Consistency comes from simple restoration of practice, not from dramatic punishment. Engage a minimal accountability system that fits your style. Accountability can be external, like a coach, or internal, like a written contract. A small formal commitment increases follow-through. Sign a brief written statement that declares the goal, the timeline, and the consequences for missed milestones. Share the statement with 1 trusted person and ask for a weekly check-in. The social friction of public commitment often increases adherence. If external accountability is not possible, use technology to create friction. Set calendar invites, send yourself a recorded video that you will watch if a milestone is missed, or use a habit tracking app that highlights streaks. Practice decisive prioritization. Big goals require the sacrifice of lesser attractive options. Choose one primary objective and make other tasks secondary until the first milestone is reached. Every decision should be evaluated through the filter: does this action move me toward my primary goal? If not, then defer it. This prioritization is not deprivation, it is focused allocation of energy. Decisions become easier when the filter is clear. Adopt a learning orientation toward setbacks. Mistakes are data, not verdicts. When a plan fails, analyze the elements calmly. Ask what was assumed and which assumptions did not hold. Replace blaming with inquiry. This is a Stoic technique that dissolves emotional reactivity and produces actionable insight. Write down what worked, what did not, and what to try differently next. Create a habit of rapid iteration. Small repeated experiments produce robust improvements. Cultivate patience while maintaining urgency. Patience in outcome acceptance and urgency in daily process are not contradictory. The Stoic mindset emphasizes control of effort rather than control of results. Put energy into the actions you can control and avoid persistent rumination about outcomes. Check progress objectively at set review points. Between those checks, focus only on input activities. This balance reduces anxiety and increases sustained effort. Design rituals for high-resistance moments. 2 powerful rituals that help during resistance are the 5-minute rule and the 3-step clear start. The 5-minute rule commits to doing the task for exactly 5 minutes. Often the initial resistance is the largest. Once 5 minutes pass, the tendency to continue increases. The 3-step clear start requires preparing the environment, stating the microtask, and starting a timer. Repeat the sequence whenever avoidance appears. Over time, these rituals become automatic triggers for action. Guard attention as a prime resource. Attention is finite and valuable. Identify the time of day when concentration is highest and reserve that time for the most important work. Protect that block from meetings and low-value tasks. Use focused intervals with breaks between them. 50 minutes of focused work followed by a 10-minute break is a common pattern. During breaks, deliberately move away from screens and perform a sensory reset, such as a brief walk or a few slow breaths. These resets preserve energy for sustained performance. Build a minimal but consistent self-care foundation, because high performance is not possible on empty reserves. Adequate sleep, quality nutrition, and daily movement are non-negotiable. These are not optional extras that can be postponed. When energy slips, every task becomes harder and courage recedes. Prioritize sleep and simple nutrition rules, such as a consistent protein source at each meal and regular hydration. Movement need not be intense. Daily short walks or light strength work maintain baseline energy and protect against burnout. Frame the narrative of progress in terms of identity change rather than temporary effort. Saying "I am the kind of person who finishes what is started" internalizes the behavior. Identity-based change focuses on the type of person you want to become and then aligns actions with that identity. Choose one identity statement relevant to the goal and repeat it daily. Combine it with the habit of taking one identity-confirming action each day. This anchors larger goals in daily lived behavior. Use time blocking to protect the most important work. Schedule the concrete actions on the calendar and treat the blocks as fixed appointments. Break the blocks into specific tasks and include buffer time for transitions. Do not leave high-value work to open time. Open time becomes a casualty of less important urgent tasks. Protect the blocks by communicating boundaries with others and by creating a physical signal that the block is reserved. Practice public commitment selectively. Public declarations increase stakes and focus. Choose trusted audiences or formal platforms. Publish a plan on social media only if prepared for scrutiny. A better approach for most people is to share with 3 individuals who support growth and who will ask for status updates. Public commitment works best when coupled with clear milestones and a reasonable timeline, not when used as a dramatic promise. Anticipate common obstacles and create contingency plans. Write a short list of the top 5 things that could derail progress and a single practical response for each. If travel will interrupt routine, plan portable rituals. If illness occurs, reduce volume but maintain minimal practice. If motivation dips, rely on the ritual and on accountability. Preparing for obstacles reduces the surprise factor and preserves action under strain. Practice gratitude and realism in equal measure. Gratitude helps sustain positive energy by acknowledging progress even if small. Realism keeps planning grounded in concrete constraints. At weekly review, name one thing that improved and one obstacle that remains. This balanced view prevents motivational highs that lead to reckless expansion and prevents despair that halts movement. Invest in one quality resource that accelerates learning. A single good book, a concise course, or a coach can compress years of trial and error into months of progress. Choose resources that are practical and aligned with the milestones. Avoid the temptation to collect many resources and never finish any. Depth beats breadth when developing competence. Be willing to adjust the goal if new evidence shows the original target was based on faulty assumptions or misaligned values. Changing the goal is not failure when the change follows evidence and reflection. It is failure when change becomes a way to avoid discomfort. Distinguish between thoughtful course correction and avoidance. Use the weekly review and quarterly checks to evaluate whether the goal still aligns with long-term priorities. Celebrate progress without complacency. Acknowledging achievement fuels morale and rewards the system of practice. Choose celebrations that reinforce discipline, not weaken it. An evening off after a week of solid progress or a small purchase after a significant milestone, both are appropriate. Avoid celebrations that undo the gains, such as binging or abandoning routine. Teach the skill of restarting quickly. When days are missed or mistakes happen, the fastest route back to momentum is to restart immediately with the smallest viable action. Do not wait for a Monday or a perfect moment. Restart now and treat the restart with the same ritual and attention as any planned day. Speedy restarts reduce the accumulation of lost days and maintain credible identity. Hold company that reflects the desired growth. Social environment shapes behavior more than willpower alone. Seek 1 or 2 peers who are also pursuing significant goals and who support direct, honest feedback. Participate in small groups that share progress and obstacles. Proximity to serious people raises standards and provides models for how to behave under pressure. Practice restraint with small pleasures that undermine larger goals. Stoic discipline involves choosing long-term value over short-term ease. This does not require austerity. It requires intention. Define which small pleasures will be limited during focused phases and which will be allowed as controlled rewards. The clarity prevents constant negotiation with desire. Use language of progress, not perfection. Replace absolute standards with clear performance metrics. Instead of "I must never fail," say "I will practice daily and iterate based on results." This language reduces moral weight and encourages experimentation. When perfectionism appears, break the task into the smallest possible deliverable and complete that first. Momentum silences the inner critic more effectively than argument. Practice gratitude for the capacity to act. Each day is an opportunity to build skill and character. The Stoic perspective encourages appreciation for what is under control, namely effort, attention, and values. Focus on those and avoid wasting energy on outcomes that remain uncertain. This focus transforms tension into steady work. Build a simple career of habits rather than relying on occasional bursts of effort. Habits are the architecture of long-term achievement. Design an environment that supports the habits, the rituals that trigger them, and the minimal metrics that measure them. Respect the slow accumulation of practice. A lifetime of steady, disciplined action produces results that dramatic effort rarely matches. Conclude by committing to a 30-day experiment. Pick one big, clear, specific goal, write it in a single sentence, and set a 30-day milestone that is demanding yet possible. Design a daily ritual that requires 20 to 60 minutes of focused action and schedule it on the calendar at the time of highest concentration. Create a simple tracking sheet that records one primary signal and one secondary metric each day, and keep a short journal entry about progress, obstacles, and lessons. Share the 30-day plan with a trusted person and schedule a weekly 30-minute review. At the end of 30 days, evaluate honestly and then plan the next 30. This short experiment will prove the power of focused, consistent action and will transform vague desire into measurable capability. Courage to choose bigger goals and the discipline of daily action are not mysterious. They are a matter of steady preparations, small rituals, and honest feedback. Apply the steps described here with persistence and clarity. Over time, the accumulation of modest daily acts will reshape skill, competence, and confidence. The only requirement is sustained practice and refusal to treat fear as a permanent barrier. Make that commitment to act daily, and then return every day to the work with calm focus and firm responsibility. Chapter 20. Replace limiting beliefs with bold thoughts about your future. Many people move through life carrying quiet thoughts that limit what they believe is possible for them. These thoughts are often invisible at first. They sit quietly in the background of the mind and influence choices without announcing themselves. A person may say they want success, growth, or a better future, yet their inner voice may quietly say something different. That voice may say, "This is too difficult, people like me do not achieve things like this," or "It is safer to stay where I am." Over time, those thoughts shape behavior. They narrow ambition. They weaken effort. They slowly guide a person toward a smaller life than they are capable of living. Real change begins when a person learns to notice these thoughts and question them with honesty. Limiting beliefs are not facts. They are learned conclusions formed from past experiences, criticism, fear, or comparison with others. Many people carry beliefs formed during childhood or early failures. Perhaps someone once said you were not talented enough. Perhaps an attempt did not succeed and the mind concluded that trying again would lead to embarrassment. These moments can plant ideas that quietly grow over time. Without awareness, they begin to define what a person thinks they deserve or what they believe they can handle. The first step toward replacing these beliefs is awareness. Observe the thoughts that appear when you consider a bigger future. Pay attention to what your mind says when you think about pursuing a meaningful goal. If the thought appears that you are not capable, pause and examine it. Ask where that belief came from. Ask whether it is supported by real evidence or whether it was formed during a moment of fear or disappointment. When examined carefully, many limiting beliefs reveal themselves as weak conclusions rather than solid truth. A helpful practice is to write down the beliefs that appear most often when you face challenges. Place them on paper exactly as they appear in your mind. Seeing them written clearly creates distance between you and the thought itself. A belief loses power when it is observed rather than accepted automatically. After writing the belief, challenge it with calm reasoning. Look at the evidence in your life that contradicts it. Think about moments where you learned something difficult or overcame a problem. These examples show that growth is possible. The mind needs reminders of reality when old assumptions try to take control. Once the limiting belief is identified and questioned, the next step is to replace it with a stronger thought about your future. This replacement must be realistic yet courageous. It should stretch your expectations while remaining grounded in effort and learning. Instead of thinking success is not meant for me, form a statement such as "I can grow stronger through consistent effort and learning." Instead of thinking "I always fail at difficult tasks," choose a thought such as "Each challenge teaches me how to improve." These new thoughts should focus on growth rather than perfection. A person who believes growth is possible approaches problems differently. Instead of avoiding difficulty, they see it as training. When mistakes happen, they search for lessons instead of blaming themselves. This mindset creates resilience because it removes the pressure to perform perfectly every time. Progress becomes the goal rather than flawless results. It is important to understand that the mind does not change overnight. A belief repeated for years cannot disappear in a single day. Replacing it requires daily reinforcement through thought and action. Each day you must remind yourself of the stronger belief you have chosen. Speak it clearly in your mind, write it in your journal, read it before beginning your work. Over time, this repeated message begins to shape your internal voice. Thoughts alone are not enough. They must be supported by action. The strongest way to weaken a limiting belief is to gather new evidence through experience. When you take small steps toward a challenging goal, you prove to yourself that growth is possible. Each action becomes a piece of evidence that supports the new belief you are building. Over time, the old belief loses credibility because it no longer matches your behavior. For example, imagine someone who believes they are not capable of leading others. This belief may have formed after a difficult group experience in the past. If that person chooses a bold thought about their future, they may begin to see leadership as a skill that can be learned through practice. Instead of avoiding responsibility, they might volunteer to guide a small project. The first attempt may feel uncomfortable. The voice of doubt may still appear, yet by completing the task, they collect proof that they can improve. Each new experience strengthens the belief that growth is possible. Another powerful method is to study people who achieved meaningful goals despite difficult beginnings. When you learn about individuals who faced hardship yet built strong lives, your mind receives a new model of what is possible. These stories show that ability is often developed through persistence rather than given at birth. Observing others who walked a challenging path reminds the mind that effort and learning can reshape a future. Daily language also plays a strong role in shaping belief. The words you use when speaking about yourself influence how the mind interprets your identity. If someone constantly says they are unlucky, incapable, or behind everyone else, those words slowly become part of their internal identity. Replace those statements with language that supports growth and effort. Speak about the progress you are making. Speak about the skills you are developing. Over time, the mind begins to align with the language you repeat. Environment also affects belief. When surrounded by people who constantly speak with doubt and negativity, it becomes harder to maintain a bold vision for your future. Seek conversations that encourage growth and effort. This does not require constant praise. Honest and constructive discussion is more valuable than empty compliments. What matters is being around people who respect discipline and believe improvement is possible. A useful daily exercise is to visualize the person you are becoming through consistent effort. Spend a few quiet minutes imagining the future you are working toward. Picture the skills you have developed. Imagine the calm confidence that comes from steady progress. Think about the positive impact your growth can have on your work, your family, and the people around you. This simple practice strengthens motivation because it connects daily effort with a meaningful future. During difficult moments, the mind may try to return to old patterns of doubt. This is normal. When this happens, pause and take a slow breath. Observe the thought without reacting emotionally. Remind yourself that the belief belongs to an earlier version of your thinking. Then redirect attention toward the next action that moves you forward. Calm repetition of this process slowly weakens the old pattern. Patience is important during this transformation. A strong mindset is built through consistent practice. Some days will feel easier than others. On certain days, confidence will feel natural. On other days, the mind may feel heavy with doubt. What matters is continuing the practice of replacing the old thought with the stronger one and continuing to take action that supports it. There is also value in appreciating small progress. When you notice a moment where your thinking has improved, acknowledge it. Perhaps you handled a challenge with calm instead of frustration. Perhaps you attempted something that once felt intimidating. These moments show that your thinking is evolving. Recognizing them reinforces the direction you are moving. A bold future is not created by chance. It grows from disciplined thinking combined with steady action. When you choose thoughts that support growth, responsibility, and courage, you begin to shape a stronger internal foundation. This foundation affects how you respond to obstacles and how far you are willing to stretch your potential. The mind is a powerful guide. If it is filled with doubt, it will lead toward hesitation and small ambitions. If it is filled with courageous expectations, it will guide behavior toward growth and opportunity. Every person has the ability to influence their thinking through conscious practice. Replacing limiting beliefs is not about pretending that life is easy. Challenges will continue to appear. Unexpected problems will test patience and resilience. The difference lies in how the mind interprets these moments. A limiting belief sees difficulty as confirmation of weakness. A bold belief sees difficulty as part of the path toward improvement. The future of any person is shaped largely by the thoughts they repeat each day. Those thoughts influence choices, habits, and persistence. By choosing stronger beliefs about your potential, you open the door to actions that once seemed impossible. With each step forward, the mind gathers evidence that growth is real. When a person commits to replacing limiting beliefs with bold thoughts about their future, they begin a quiet transformation. Their decisions become more intentional. Their effort becomes more focused. Their confidence grows not from empty optimism, but from the steady experience of improvement. Over time, the person who once doubted their potential begins to see life differently. Challenges feel like opportunities to strengthen ability. Learning becomes a daily habit. Goals expand because fear no longer controls every decision. This transformation does not require extraordinary talent or perfect conditions. It begins with a simple choice to question the beliefs that restrict growth and to replace them with thoughts that support progress. When this practice is repeated consistently, it creates a powerful shift in how a person sees themselves and their future. A stronger life begins with stronger thinking. When the mind believes improvement is possible, action follows naturally. Through disciplined thought and steady effort, the future becomes a place shaped by intention rather than by fear. Chapter 30. Train your mind to expect success every day. Every day begins with a quiet moment before the world fully demands your attention. In that moment, your mind prepares itself for what it expects to happen. Many people wake up already assuming the day will be difficult, stressful, or disappointing. They do not say these thoughts out loud, yet the expectation is there. It shapes their posture, their energy, and the way they respond to challenges. When the mind expects struggle, it searches for evidence that confirms that belief. Small problems feel larger. Delays feel personal. Progress feels unlikely. Training the mind to expect success is a powerful shift that changes how each day unfolds. This expectation does not mean believing that everything will be easy or perfect. It means developing a steady confidence that your effort will produce progress. It means believing that challenges can be handled with patience and clear thinking. This mindset transforms the way you approach work, learning, and personal growth. Success in this sense is not limited to big achievements. It includes completing tasks with care, learning from mistakes, improving a skill, and staying disciplined when distractions appear. When the mind expects success, it approaches the day with readiness rather than hesitation. Energy moves toward action instead of worry. One of the most effective ways to build this mindset is to begin each morning with intentional thinking. Before checking messages or reacting to external demands, take a few quiet minutes to focus your attention on the direction of your day. Sit calmly and breathe slowly. Think about the tasks that matter most and picture yourself completing them with focus. Imagine the feeling of satisfaction that comes from steady effort. This brief exercise prepares the mind for purposeful activity. The words you repeat internally also shape expectation. Many people allow negative phrases to circulate quietly in their thoughts. They may say to themselves that the day will be exhausting or that problems will appear everywhere. Over time, these thoughts influence how they interpret events. Replace those phrases with statements that support productive thinking. Remind yourself that you are prepared to work with discipline. Remind yourself that progress is possible through effort and patience. This mental preparation guides the mind toward constructive action. Another useful practice is defining clear daily objectives. When a person moves through the day without clear direction, it becomes easy to feel overwhelmed. Tasks appear scattered and energy becomes divided. Decide in advance which activities deserve your strongest attention. Write down a small number of meaningful tasks that move your life forward. Seeing these tasks on paper creates focus. Each completed task becomes a small confirmation that success is taking place. Success grows stronger when it is connected to consistent effort rather than random results. A person who expects success does not wait for perfect conditions before starting. They begin working even when the situation feels uncertain. The belief that effort produces improvement allows them to remain steady through difficulty. Instead of becoming discouraged by obstacles, they treat each moment as part of the learning process. A helpful way to strengthen this mindset is through reflection at the end of the day. Spend a few minutes reviewing what happened. Notice the actions that moved you forward. Recognize the moments where discipline helped you continue working. These observations reinforce the idea that progress occurs through effort. Even if the day included mistakes, the reflection process allows you to identify lessons that support future improvement. Over time, this routine creates a cycle of growth. The morning begins with focused intention. The day includes purposeful action. The evening brings reflection and learning. This pattern trains the mind to associate each day with opportunity rather than uncertainty. Gradually, the expectation of success becomes natural. Environment plays an important role in shaping mental expectations. Surround yourself with signals that encourage focus and growth. Keep your workspace organized and free from unnecessary distractions. Place reminders of your goals where you can see them regularly. These visual cues reinforce the direction you are moving. They remind the mind that your time and energy are dedicated to meaningful effort. Physical energy also influences mental outlook. A tired mind struggles to maintain positive expectations. Adequate rest, nourishing food, and regular movement support clarity and focus. When the body feels strong, the mind becomes more capable of maintaining disciplined thinking. Simple routines such as walking outdoors or stretching during breaks can refresh attention and restore motivation. Learning new skills is another way to strengthen the expectation of success. Each time you practice and improve a skill, your confidence grows through experience. Skill development demonstrates that ability is not fixed. It grows through repetition and patience. This understanding changes how the mind reacts to difficulty. Instead of seeing challenges as proof of limitation, you begin to see them as invitations to improve. Another powerful method for training the mind involves keeping track of completed efforts. Many people focus only on what remains unfinished. This habit creates a feeling that progress is always distant. Create a record of the tasks you complete each day. Even small achievements deserve recognition. Seeing the list grow provides clear evidence that effort produces results. The mind begins to associate action with accomplishment. It is also important to manage how you interpret setbacks. Difficult moments appear in every life. Delays, criticism, and mistakes are part of growth. A mind trained to expect success does not deny these realities. Instead, it responds with calm evaluation. When something does not go as planned, pause and examine what can be learned. Identify one improvement that can be applied next time. This response transforms disappointment into progress. Patience strengthens this process. Real achievement develops over time through steady practice. Expecting success does not mean demanding immediate perfection. It means trusting that consistent effort will eventually produce meaningful results. This patience allows you to continue working even when visible progress feels slow. Another useful habit involves limiting unnecessary comparison with others. Comparing your progress with someone else's journey often creates doubt or frustration. Every individual moves through different circumstances and develops skills at different speeds. Focus attention on your own path. Measure improvement against your previous efforts. This approach creates a healthier standard of growth. Conversation with others can also influence expectation. When you discuss your work and goals, choose language that reflects commitment and progress. Speak about what you are building rather than what you fear. This language reinforces confidence, both in your mind and in the perception of those around you. Clear communication about your goals also encourages supportive feedback from people who respect your discipline. Daily reading or listening to thoughtful material can strengthen mental resilience. Exposure to ideas about discipline, perseverance, and learning reminds the mind that growth is a continuous process. These ideas provide guidance during moments of uncertainty. They also remind you that many successful individuals develop their abilities through patient effort. Silence and reflection offer additional strength. Spending a few minutes in quiet observation allows the mind to reset from constant stimulation. During this time, you can examine your thoughts without pressure. Notice which ideas support your progress and which create unnecessary doubt. Gradually, the mind becomes more skilled at choosing thoughts that support constructive behavior. Consistency is the foundation of this transformation. Training the mind requires repeated practice. Some days will feel easy while others require greater effort. Continue the routines even when motivation feels low. Each repetition strengthens the pattern of expecting success through action. Confidence grows from experience rather than wishful thinking. As days of focused work accumulate, you begin to notice a steady increase in skill and productivity. Tasks that once seemed difficult become manageable. This change reinforces the belief that progress is possible through discipline. Over time, the expectation of success becomes a quiet habit of thought. You wake each morning ready to engage with purpose. Work begins without hesitation because the mind trusts the process. Challenges are approached with calm attention because experience has shown that effort leads to improvement. Life begins to feel different when the mind operates from this foundation. Anxiety about failure becomes less dominant. Energy shifts toward preparation and learning. Opportunities that once seemed intimidating begin to appear manageable. Every day becomes a chance to practice this mindset again. Each morning offers a new opportunity to choose focused thinking. Each action taken with discipline reinforces the belief that success grows through steady effort. When a person consistently trains the mind to expect success, their behavior begins to reflect that expectation. They show up prepared. They handle obstacles with composure. They maintain patience while building skill. The result is not sudden transformation, but gradual and lasting improvement. The mind becomes a partner in progress rather than a source of doubt. Through intentional thinking and consistent action, success begins to feel like a natural direction rather than a distant possibility. Chapter 4. Expand your vision and set goals beyond comfort. Many people live inside a narrow picture of what their life could become. This picture often forms slowly over years through habits, expectations from others, and repeated routines. At first it may feel safe and predictable. There is comfort in knowing what to expect from each day, yet the same comfort can quietly limit personal growth. When a person never looks beyond what feels familiar, their potential remains unused. Expanding your vision begins with a decision to look further than the boundaries that once defined your goals. A larger vision does not mean chasing unrealistic dreams or ignoring reality. It means allowing yourself to consider possibilities that require courage, learning, and persistence. It means refusing to define your future by the limits of your current circumstances. A powerful way to begin this process is to ask honest questions about the direction of your life. Consider where your current habits are leading you. Imagine continuing the same patterns for the next 5 or 10 years. Would that path lead to a life you respect and value? If the answer feels uncertain, it may be time to widen your view and consider new goals. Expanding vision requires curiosity. Curiosity invites the mind to explore areas that once felt distant or unfamiliar. This exploration might involve learning about new skills, studying people who built meaningful careers, or observing industries and fields that contribute positively to society. When curiosity becomes part of daily thinking, the mind begins to notice opportunities that were previously invisible. Another useful step is examining the goals you currently hold. Many individuals set goals that are small enough to avoid discomfort. These goals feel achievable because they require little change in behavior. While small improvements are valuable, they do not always challenge the deeper abilities within a person. Growth often occurs when a goal demands effort that stretches existing habits. Setting goals beyond comfort encourages development of new strengths. These goals ask you to learn skills that feel unfamiliar. They require patience while you adapt to new challenges. At first, this process can feel unsettling. The mind may question whether the effort will succeed. That reaction is natural whenever a person moves beyond familiar territory. The important step is not eliminating discomfort, but learning to move forward while experiencing it. Discomfort is often a signal that you are approaching an area of growth. When you encounter tasks that feel challenging, remind yourself that difficulty is part of progress. Every meaningful achievement requires a period of uncertainty while new skills are forming. Clarity is essential when creating larger goals. A vague desire for improvement will not provide enough direction. Describe the outcome you want in clear terms. Identify the abilities you need to develop and the milestones that will guide your progress. Writing these details creates a concrete path rather than a distant wish. Consider the different areas of life that contribute to long-term fulfillment. Work. Chapter 5e. Speak with confidence and believe deeply in your ability. Confidence in speech is not something reserved for a small group of naturally gifted people. It is a skill that grows through awareness, practice, and belief in personal ability. Every person communicates thoughts, ideas, and intentions through words. The way those words are delivered shapes how others understand you and how seriously they take your ideas. When speech carries calm certainty, people listen with greater respect. When words are spoken with hesitation or doubt, the message often loses strength before it reaches the listener. Learning to speak with confidence begins with understanding the connection between thought and expression. The voice often reflects what the mind believes. When a person doubts their own value, their speech becomes uncertain. Sentences may feel weak, rushed, or incomplete. The listener senses hesitation and may struggle to trust the message. Strengthening speech, therefore, begins inside the mind. Belief in your ability forms the foundation of clear communication. Belief does not appear suddenly without effort. It develops through small acts of discipline and personal growth. Each time you complete a task that once felt difficult, you gather evidence that you are capable of improvement. These experiences slowly build a deeper trust in yourself. Over time, that trust becomes visible in the way you speak and carry yourself. The first step toward confident communication is clarity of thought. Before speaking, take a moment to organize what you want to say. When the mind knows the message clearly, the voice naturally becomes steadier. If thoughts feel scattered, pause and simplify the idea. Choose the most important point and express it directly. Clear thinking leads to clear speaking. Another important element is pace. Many people rush their words when they feel nervous. Fast speech can make a message harder to understand and can signal uncertainty. Slow down slightly and allow each sentence to be heard fully. A calm pace gives both you and the listener time to process the message. Silence between sentences is not a weakness. It often strengthens communication by allowing ideas to settle. Posture and breathing also influence the tone of speech. When the body is tense or closed, the voice may sound restricted. Stand or sit upright with relaxed shoulders. Take slow breaths that allow the voice to flow naturally. This physical adjustment sends a signal to the mind that you are calm and prepared. Over time, these simple habits become natural parts of communication. Practice is another essential step in developing confidence. Like any skill, speaking improves with repetition. Begin by expressing ideas clearly in everyday conversations. Share your thoughts during discussions at work or within your community. Speak about subjects you understand well. Each conversation provides an opportunity to strengthen clarity and presence. Listening carefully to others also improves communication. When you listen with attention, you learn how ideas are exchanged and how strong messages are delivered. Observing skilled speakers can reveal useful habits, such as thoughtful pauses, clear explanations, and respectful tone. These observations become valuable examples that guide your own development. Believing deeply in your ability means recognizing that improvement is always possible. No one begins as a perfect communicator. Even experienced speakers continue refining their skills throughout life. Instead of judging yourself harshly for mistakes, treat each conversation as practice. Notice what worked well and what could be improved next time. This attitude encourages steady progress. Another important factor in confident speech is honesty. Speaking truthfully about your knowledge and experience creates credibility. When you are uncertain about a topic, It is acceptable to acknowledge that you are still learning. Honest communication often earns more respect than pretending to know everything. People appreciate sincerity and clear intention. Preparation also plays a significant role when speaking in important situations. If you know you will need to present an idea or lead a discussion, spend time organizing your thoughts in advance. Write down the key points you want to share. Rehearse them quietly until they feel natural. Preparation reduces uncertainty and allows the mind to focus on delivery rather than searching for words. Belief in personal ability grows stronger when supported by action. Each time you speak with clarity, you reinforce the idea that your voice matters. Gradually, the fear of expressing yourself begins to fade. The mind learns that communication is not something to avoid, but a skill that strengthens through use. Another helpful approach is focusing on the value of the message rather than worrying about judgment from others. When you concentrate on sharing helpful information or meaningful ideas, attention shifts away from self-doubt. The purpose becomes communication rather than personal approval. This shift often brings a sense of calm that improves delivery. Emotional awareness can also improve speech. During important conversations, feelings such as nervousness or excitement may appear. Recognizing these emotions without reacting impulsively allows you to remain steady. Take a slow breath and continue speaking at a comfortable pace. Over time, you learn that emotions do not have to control the outcome of communication. Reading regularly can strengthen language and expression. Exposure to thoughtful writing expands vocabulary and helps you understand how ideas can be organized clearly. As your understanding grows, expressing thoughts becomes easier and more precise. Reading also stimulates curiosity, which enriches conversations and discussions. Confidence grows further when you acknowledge progress. Reflect on moments where you communicated effectively. Perhaps you explained a complex idea clearly or shared an opinion with calm assurance. These moments show that improvement is already happening. Recognizing them strengthens belief in your developing ability. Supportive relationships can also encourage confident speech. Conversations with people who respect thoughtful dialogue create a safe space for expressing ideas. These interactions allow you to practice speaking openly without fear of ridicule. Gradually, this comfort extends into broader situations. Another valuable habit is asking questions during discussions. Asking thoughtful questions shows engagement and curiosity. It also reduces pressure because communication becomes a shared exchange rather than a performance. Listening to the answers deepens understanding and often leads to meaningful dialogue. It is also helpful to accept that not every conversation will unfold perfectly. Sometimes words may come out differently than intended. Sometimes a message may not be understood immediately. These moments are part of normal human communication. Instead of dwelling on them, learn from the experience and continue improving. Over time, the repeated practice of speaking with clarity and belief transforms how others perceive you. People begin to recognize reliability in your words. Your ideas gain attention because they are expressed with calm assurance. This recognition often leads to greater opportunities for leadership, collaboration, and influence. Belief in your ability also affects the way you approach challenges. When you trust your capacity to learn and adapt, you become more willing to share ideas and contribute to important conversations. This participation strengthens personal growth and expands opportunities. The connection between confident speech and inner belief becomes stronger with every experience. The more you practice expressing yourself honestly and clearly, the more natural it feels. Communication becomes an extension of your thinking rather than a source of anxiety. A strong voice does not require loud volume or dramatic expression. True confidence appears through calm clarity and thoughtful delivery. When words are chosen carefully and spoken with steady conviction, they carry influence without force. Developing this ability requires patience and consistent effort. Each conversation offers a chance to refine your approach. Each moment of clear expression builds deeper trust in yourself. Through disciplined thinking and regular practice, speaking with confidence becomes part of daily life. The voice reflects a mind that believes in its capacity to learn, contribute, and grow. When this belief is genuine, communication becomes powerful and meaningful. Over time, you begin to notice a quiet transformation. Words come more easily. Ideas flow with greater clarity. Conversations feel less like obstacles and more like opportunities to connect and share understanding. This transformation is not the result of sudden talent, but of steady commitment to growth. By believing deeply in your ability and practicing clear communication each day, you create a voice that reflects strength, purpose, and authenticity. Chapter 60. Take daily action that matches your bigger thinking. Taking action every day that matches the size of your ambitions begins with a clear alignment between what you imagine and what you actually do each morning. Start by defining one concrete outcome that reflects the larger goal you care about, and then translate that outcome into the smallest meaningful task you can complete today. This smallest task serves as the direct bridge between thought and result, and it reduces the chance that busy work or doubt will replace the work that matters most. Choose a fixed time each day when your focus is least likely to be interrupted, and schedule that time as a non-negotiable appointment. Protect this appointment from meetings, messages, and low-value demands by treating it the same way you would treat an important client or a medical appointment. During that reserved block, remove visual clutter and set up the tools you need so starting is immediate. The fewer preliminary steps required, the more likely the work will begin and hold. Break the larger work into repeatable micro-routines that you can perform even on days when energy is low. Each routine should be simple enough to start without extensive planning, yet substantial enough that repeating it consistently produces measurable improvement. Track one small metric tied directly to the routine. Record that metric each day and use it as the primary indicator of whether your daily effort matched your ambition. Make a short written plan before you begin. Spend 5 minutes listing the 3 actions that will move your project forward today. Number them by importance and commit to finishing the top item before checking email or social media. Finishing one meaningful task early produces a surge of control that increases the likelihood of completing additional work that day. Design environmental supports that make the desired behavior easier and the alternative harder. Place the materials you need within reach and move distractions out of sight. If focus requires a quiet room, close the door and silence your phone. If physical exercise is part of the goal, keep equipment visible and ready so the physical cost of starting is minimal. Over time, the environment will cue the behavior and reduce the reliance on willpower alone. Adopt a progressive workload plan so that effort increases across weeks in manageable increments. Start with a base level you can sustain and then add a measurable step each week. This controlled increase prevents sudden spikes that lead to burnout, and it provides regular signals of growth. When the body or mind resists the increment, reduce the step and extend the adaptation period rather than abandoning the routine entirely. Use a minimal accountability system that fits your temperament. A weekly written update sent to one person is often more effective than public declarations on social media. Make the update specific by including the key metric, the actions you completed, and the obstacle you encountered. External accountability creates a small psychological cost for skipping practice, and it increases consistency. Anchor your actions to a sensory ritual that signals the brain it is time to work. The ritual might be a short set of deep breaths, a specific piece of music, a particular seat, or a glass of water. Over time, the ritual will shorten the transition from passive thinking to focused doing. The ritual is not magic. It simply primes attention, so starting requires less mental negotiation. Divide long tasks into short intervals using a focused timer and an intentional break. Work in blocks that match your natural attention span and use breaks to reset the body with movement or fresh air. During focused blocks, remove all notifications and keep the task narrow and specific. Clear boundaries between work and rest maintain stamina across multiple sessions and prevent the creeping fatigue that undermines long-term projects. Practice the 5-minute start rule for high-resistance tasks. Commit to doing the task for exactly 5 minutes and then reassess. Most avoidance dissolves after this brief commitment because initial resistance is usually larger than sustained effort. If 5 minutes leads to continuation, then allow it to continue. If the short burst clarifies that the task should be restructured, then adjust and try again later. Train attention by limiting multitasking and by creating single-purpose sessions. When you focus on one task at a time, your quality and speed increase. Multitasking reduces effectiveness and extends total time to completion. Protect your most creative and demanding work for the period when your mental clarity is highest, and reserve less demanding chores for other parts of the day. Record short end-of-day notes that capture what you achieved, what you learned, and what needs to change. 2 or 3 sentences of reflection deepen learning and make future actions smarter. Use these notes to choose the top 3 tasks for tomorrow and to identify one small experiment you will run to improve process. This simple feedback loop turns repeated effort into faster improvement. Recognize the role of energy management in sustaining ambitious daily work. Sleep, baseline nutrition, and brief movement create reserves that allow steady output. When these basics are neglected, every task feels heavier and resolve declines. Design simple non-negotiables for rest and physical care so that your capacity to act remains reliable rather than variable. Treat mistakes and slow days as data rather than judgments about worth. When progress slows, examine inputs, not identity. Ask what changed this week in the schedule, environment, or in available energy. Adjust one variable and run the week again. Repeated small adjustments compound into meaningful gains, and they avoid the emotional spiral that often follows perceived failure. Keep a visible progress indicator that you can glance at quickly. A chart, a checklist, or a simple count of completed actions provides an objective reminder that work is accumulating. Visual evidence of progress is a stronger motivator than abstract hope because it shows the tangible outputs of your effort. Celebrate small wins briefly and move back to work without letting celebration derail momentum. Build in predictable recovery periods to avoid long-term attrition. Ambitious work demands rest. Schedule a day or portion of a day each week for restorative activities that require no performance. Use this time to read, to walk, or to engage in low-stake creative pursuit. Regular recovery protects energy so that daily action remains possible across months and years. Communicate boundaries clearly to others so your focused time is respected. Saying no to some requests is a direct investment in the future you are creating. Explain succinctly why the reserved block matters and offer alternative times for interactions that do not interfere with your peak work period. Clear communication reduces friction and keeps interruptions low. Identify the smallest sign that a practice is failing early and prepare a contingency plan for that sign. If motivation drops drastically, switch to a simpler version of the task, maintain the ritual, and continue tracking. If interruptions become frequent, move the work to a different time of day or create a temporary physical separation from the source of interference. Rapid course correction prevents temporary problems from becoming permanent derailments. Choose one reliable learning resource and follow it deeply rather than consuming many shallow sources. Depth produces usable skills. Apply what is learned immediately through small projects and tasks. The combination of applied learning and daily practice accelerates growth more effectively than scattered consumption of ideas. Align incentives so that daily work produces immediate feedback. For creative projects, set short deadlines and public mini milestones. For technical skills, use short tests or practice sessions that yield measurable results. Immediate feedback tightens the loop between effort and improvement and keeps motivation focused on verifiable progress. Practice a simple re-entry routine for missed days. When a day is missed, return to the work with the same ritual and with a reduced micro-task that guarantees success. Avoid waiting for the perfect time or adding punishments. Fast re-entry preserves momentum and prevents the build-up of skip days that erode confidence. Remember that consistency matters more than intensity. Regular small efforts applied for years outpace sporadic bursts of extreme work. Design a pattern you can maintain alongside other responsibilities and accept that steady accumulation is the reliable path to large outcomes. Finally, set a short, measurable checkpoint that requires focused work rather than hope. Decide on a specific deliverable to be completed within a fixed period and work toward it with daily practice. Use the checkpoint to evaluate whether your daily routines truly reflect the scale of your goals and to refine the approach based on real results. When daily actions consistently match the ambition of your vision, progress becomes inevitable and the future you seek moves from idea to reality. Chapter 70. Build strong habits that support growth and progress. Real and lasting progress rarely comes from a single moment of intense effort. Growth is usually the result of actions repeated over long periods of time. These repeated actions slowly shape skills, character, and results. The quiet force behind this process is habit. Habits determine how a person spends their time, how they respond to challenges, and how consistently they move toward meaningful goals. A habit is simply a behavior that becomes automatic through repetition. At first it requires conscious effort. The mind must remember to perform the action and overcome resistance. After repeated practice, the behavior becomes easier. Eventually it becomes part of daily life, performed with little mental struggle. When habits support growth, they quietly push life forward even on days when motivation feels weak. Building strong habits begins with choosing behaviors that truly support your long-term direction. Many people attempt to change their lives by making sudden, dramatic commitments. They try to transform everything at once. This approach often fails because it overwhelms the mind and drains energy quickly. A more reliable method begins with selecting a few habits that directly strengthen your most important goals. Start by identifying actions that improve the quality of your thinking, learning, and work. Reading thoughtful material, practicing a valuable skill, maintaining physical health, and reflecting on daily progress are examples of habits that support personal development. These actions strengthen the foundation upon which other achievements are built. Once a useful habit is chosen, begin with a small and manageable version of that behavior. Starting small increases the likelihood that the habit will be repeated consistently. For example, if the goal is to build a reading habit, begin with 10 minutes each day rather than attempting to read for hours. If the goal involves exercise, begin with a brief and regular routine rather than an exhausting session that cannot be maintained. Consistency matters more than intensity during the early stages of habit formation. A small action repeated every day creates a pattern that gradually becomes natural. The brain begins to expect the behavior at a certain time or in a certain environment. This expectation reduces resistance and makes the habit easier to maintain. Choosing the right moment for the habit also improves success. Habits often form more easily when attached to existing routines. For example, reading for a few minutes after waking up or writing reflections before going to sleep connects the new behavior with something already familiar. This connection creates a natural reminder that reduces the chance of forgetting. The environment also influences habit formation. When the surroundings support the behavior, repeating the action becomes easier. If you want to practice a skill regularly, keep the tools required for that practice within reach. If you want to read more often, place books where they are easy to notice. These visual reminders quietly guide behavior without requiring constant effort. Removing distractions is equally important. Many habits fail because attention becomes scattered. Reducing unnecessary interruptions allows focus to remain on the action that supports growth. Simple steps such as silencing notifications or creating a quiet workspace can protect the time dedicated to important habits. Tracking progress can strengthen commitment to new habits. Recording each completed action creates visible evidence of consistency. This record reminds you that progress is taking place even when results appear slowly. Watching a series of completed days grow longer can motivate continued effort. Another helpful principle is patience. Habits develop through repeated practice over time. During the early weeks, it is common to feel resistance or forget occasionally. These moments should not be treated as failure. Instead, view them as part of the learning process. When a habit is missed, simply return to the routine the next day. Persistence eventually creates stability. Strong habits also require awareness of energy levels. When the body and mind are exhausted, maintaining discipline becomes difficult. Adequate rest, balanced nutrition, and regular movement help preserve the energy needed to maintain productive routines. These basic forms of care support every other habit you wish to build. Reflection is another habit that strengthens growth. Spending a few quiet minutes reviewing the day can reveal patterns in behavior and thinking. This reflection helps identify which habits are producing positive results and which areas may need adjustment. Learning from daily experience allows continuous improvement. As habits grow stronger, they begin to influence identity. A person who reads regularly begins to see themselves as someone who values knowledge. A person who practices a skill each day begins to view themselves as dedicated to mastery. This shift in identity strengthens commitment because the habit becomes part of how the person understands themselves. The presence of strong habits also reduces the need for constant motivation. Many people wait for inspiration before taking action. Habits remove this uncertainty by creating a structure that guides behavior regardless of mood. Even on days when enthusiasm is low, the routine continues because it has become familiar. Building habits also requires honesty about time. Many individuals believe they lack time for growth, yet small portions of time often pass without clear purpose. By dedicating even 20 minutes a day to meaningful habits, significant progress can accumulate over months and years. The key is protecting that time and using it intentionally. Another powerful element in habit formation is accountability. Sharing your intention with someone who respects discipline can increase commitment. Knowing that another person is aware of your effort encourages consistency. Regular conversations about progress can also provide encouragement and helpful perspective. It is also useful to review habits periodically. As goals evolve, certain routines may need to change. A habit that once served an important purpose might be replaced by another that better supports current objectives. This evaluation keeps your routines aligned with your larger vision for growth. Over time, strong habits begin to shape daily life in meaningful ways. The person who once struggled to find direction now moves through the day with structure and intention. Learning becomes a natural activity rather than an occasional effort. Work becomes more focused because time is used with greater awareness. Small improvements accumulate quietly through these routines. Skills develop gradually through repeated practice. Confidence grows because consistent effort produces visible results. What once felt difficult becomes manageable through familiarity and discipline. A life guided by strong habits also creates stability during difficult periods. When unexpected challenges appear, the presence of steady routines provides a sense of control. Even during uncertainty, the individual continues performing actions that support growth and resilience. The process of building habits is not dramatic or fast. It is a quiet commitment repeated daily. Each small action contributes to a larger transformation that unfolds over time. Patience and persistence are essential companions during this journey. When a person dedicates themselves to building habits that support learning, health, discipline, and thoughtful reflection, their life begins to change steadily. Progress no longer depends on rare moments of motivation. Instead, it grows naturally from routines that strengthen ability and character. Through consistent repetition, these habits form a foundation for lasting success. They guide attention toward meaningful work and protect time from unnecessary distractions. They transform effort into progress and intention into achievement. In the end, strong habits are not restrictions on freedom. They are tools that create the structure needed for personal growth. By choosing habits that align with your values and repeating them with patience, you create a life that steadily moves toward improvement, stability, and purpose. Chapter 80. Surround yourself with people who encourage bigger thinking. Human beings rarely grow in complete isolation. The thoughts we hear, the conversations we participate in, and the attitudes of the people around us quietly influence how we see the world and what we believe is possible for our own lives. Every environment sends messages about what is normal, what is expected, and what is worth pursuing. When a person spends most of their time among individuals who think small, avoid responsibility, or complain about effort, those patterns slowly begin to shape the mind. Over time, it becomes harder to imagine a larger future. Surrounding yourself with people who encourage bigger thinking changes this influence in a powerful way. It creates an environment where growth feels natural instead of unusual. When conversations include ideas about improvement, learning, discipline, and meaningful goals, the mind begins to adopt the same direction. Ambition feels less intimidating because others around you are also working toward progress. The people closest to you do not need to be famous experts or extraordinary achievers. What matters most is their attitude toward growth. Individuals who believe that effort leads to improvement often inspire those around them. They ask thoughtful questions. They share useful knowledge. They speak about challenges as opportunities to develop stronger skills. Their mindset quietly encourages others to raise their own expectations. Spending time with such people influences daily behavior in subtle ways. When someone in your environment values learning, you may find yourself reading more often. When someone takes their work seriously, you may become more disciplined in your own tasks. This influence is not forced. It happens naturally through observation and shared conversation. To build this kind of environment, it is helpful to become more aware of the relationships that fill your time. Notice how you feel after certain conversations. Some interactions may leave you feeling motivated and thoughtful. Others may create doubt or drain your energy. This awareness does not require judging others harshly. It simply helps you understand which environments encourage the mindset you want to develop. Choosing relationships that support growth often requires intention. Many people continue spending time in environments that limit their thinking simply because those situations are familiar. Expanding your circle may involve joining communities where learning and discipline are valued. This might include professional groups, educational workshops, discussion forums, or volunteer organizations where people gather to improve themselves and contribute to others. When you enter such environments, listen carefully. Observe how people approach problems and goals. Notice the language they use when speaking about challenges. Many individuals who think expansively focus on solutions rather than excuses. They discuss what can be learned rather than dwelling on obstacles. Exposure to this mindset gradually reshapes how your own mind approaches difficulty. It is also important to contribute positively to the environment you choose. Encouraging others strengthens the culture of growth within the group. Share useful information, offer thoughtful questions, and express appreciation when someone makes progress. Mutual support creates stronger connections and deeper conversations. Mentorship can also play an important role in expanding your thinking. A mentor is someone who has traveled further along a path you wish to explore. Their experience can provide valuable guidance that shortens the learning process. Listening to their perspective helps you avoid common mistakes and discover more effective approaches to challenges. Seeking mentorship does not require formal arrangements in every case. Sometimes guidance appears through books, lectures, or conversations with individuals willing to share their knowledge. The key is remaining open to learning from those who demonstrate discipline and thoughtful decision-making. At the same time, it is helpful to develop friendships with individuals who are also working toward improvement. Peers who share similar goals often understand the effort required to pursue growth. Conversations with such people tend to include discussions about strategies, lessons learned, and ideas for future progress. These exchanges strengthen motivation because they remind you that others are also engaged in the same journey. Encouraging relationships also provide honest feedback. When surrounded by thoughtful individuals, you are more likely to receive constructive advice when something is not working well. This feedback can feel uncomfortable at times, yet it is valuable because it helps you improve. Supportive people challenge you respectfully rather than allowing you to remain stuck in ineffective habits. Another benefit of being around ambitious thinkers is the exposure to new possibilities. Listening to others discuss their projects, studies, or business ideas expands your awareness of what can be achieved. These conversations may introduce paths you had never considered before. The mind begins to recognize opportunities that once seemed distant or impossible. Technology has made it easier to connect with people who encourage growth even when they are not physically nearby. Online communities, educational platforms, and virtual discussions allow individuals from different parts of the world to exchange knowledge and support. Engaging with these spaces thoughtfully can provide inspiration and practical advice. However, it is important to choose these digital environments carefully. Some spaces promote meaningful discussion and learning, while others encourage distraction or negativity. Select communities where members share useful ideas and treat each other with respect. Quality of interaction matters more than the number of connections. At times you may encounter individuals who do not understand your desire for growth. They may question why you invest time in learning new skills or pursuing challenging goals. Instead of responding with frustration, remain calm and focused on your purpose. Not everyone will share the same priorities, and that is natural. Maintain respect while continuing to seek environments that support your direction. Developing a circle of encouraging thinkers also requires becoming someone who contributes positively to others. Growth-minded individuals often appreciate companions who demonstrate curiosity, discipline, and honesty. When you practice these qualities, you naturally attract people who value similar principles. Listening deeply during conversations strengthens these connections. Many people appreciate being heard with genuine attention. When you listen carefully, you learn more about others' experiences and insights. This understanding enriches the conversation and often leads to meaningful collaboration. Over time, the presence of supportive individuals influences not only your thinking, but also your standards. Goals that once seemed distant begin to feel achievable. Challenges feel less intimidating because others around you are also working through difficulty. The environment becomes a source of encouragement rather than doubt. Shared progress creates momentum within such groups. When one person achieves a milestone, others feel inspired to continue their own efforts. Success becomes something that is celebrated collectively rather than viewed with envy. This positive atmosphere strengthens motivation for everyone involved. It is also valuable to express gratitude toward those who encourage your growth. A simple message of appreciation or recognition can strengthen relationships and remind others that their support matters. These small gestures create stronger bonds and maintain the culture of encouragement within the group. As time passes, the influence of these relationships becomes visible in your habits, decisions, and confidence. Your thinking expands because it is constantly exposed to new ideas and perspectives. Discipline becomes easier because it is reinforced by shared values within your circle. The journey of personal growth does not need to be carried alone. When you surround yourself with individuals who believe in improvement, who value learning, and who respect disciplined effort, the path forward becomes clearer and more inspiring. Through thoughtful choice of environment and relationships, you create a network of encouragement that supports larger thinking. This network strengthens your ability to pursue meaningful goals and reminds you that progress is possible through dedication and collaboration. In the end, the people around you quietly shape the direction of your life. By choosing companions who encourage ambition, curiosity, and thoughtful action, you create an atmosphere where growth is not only possible but expected. Within such an environment, the mind naturally begins to think bigger, act with greater purpose, and continue moving toward a future built through shared encouragement and steady effort. Chapter 9Z. Face fear directly and move forward with strong belief. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions that influences human behavior. It appears in many forms and often arrives quietly. Sometimes it shows itself as hesitation before taking an important step. At other times it appears as doubt about personal ability or worry about how others might react. This feeling is not unusual or abnormal. Every person experiences fear at some point when facing situations that matter to them. Fear often appears when a person stands near the edge of growth. When life begins to demand courage, the mind naturally becomes cautious. The brain is designed to protect the body from danger, so it searches for possible risks in unfamiliar situations. While this instinct once helped humans survive in harsh environments, It can also prevent progress when the fear is connected to growth rather than true danger. Many people spend years avoiding situations that create fear. They delay opportunities, postpone decisions, or remain in familiar routines that feel safe. At first, this avoidance brings temporary comfort. Yet over time, it slowly limits what life can become. The person begins to wonder what might have happened if they had acted with courage. Facing fear directly requires a change in how the mind interprets discomfort. Instead of viewing fear as a signal to retreat, it can be understood as a message that something important is at stake. The presence of fear often means that the situation has the potential to create growth, learning, or meaningful change. The first step in dealing with fear is honest recognition. Many individuals try to ignore their fears or pretend they do not exist. This approach rarely works because unrecognized fear continues to influence decisions in subtle ways. A stronger approach begins with acknowledging the emotion clearly. When you feel hesitation before an important task, pause and identify what the fear is about. Ask yourself what exactly is causing the concern. Sometimes the fear involves the possibility of failure. Sometimes it involves uncertainty about the future. In other cases, it may involve concern about criticism or rejection from others. By identifying the specific source of fear, the mind can begin to examine it calmly rather than reacting emotionally. Once fear is recognized, the next step is thoughtful evaluation. Many fears lose strength when examined carefully. Consider the realistic consequences of the situation you are facing. Often the imagined outcomes appear far worse than what would actually occur. Recognizing this difference helps restore perspective and reduces unnecessary anxiety. Preparation can also weaken fear. When you invest time in learning and practicing the skills required for a task, confidence naturally grows. Preparation replaces uncertainty with knowledge. A person who understands their tools and methods feels more capable of handling challenges that arise. Another powerful strategy is breaking a difficult task into smaller steps. Large challenges can appear overwhelming when viewed as a single event. Dividing the process into manageable actions makes progress feel possible. Each completed step builds confidence and reduces the intensity of fear. Strong belief plays an essential role in moving forward despite discomfort. Belief in this context does not mean blind optimism. It means trusting that effort and persistence can lead to improvement. This belief is strengthened through experience. Every time you face a challenge and continue working, you gather evidence that growth is possible. Developing this belief requires patience. Confidence grows gradually as new experiences accumulate. At first, the mind may still feel uncertain, yet repeated action begins to change the internal conversation. Instead of saying this is impossible, the mind begins to say this will require effort, but it can be attempted. It is also helpful to remember that fear does not need to disappear before action begins. Waiting for complete comfort often leads to endless delay. Courage means choosing to move forward even when uncertainty remains. With each step taken, fear begins to lose its control. Support from others can strengthen this process. Encouragement from people who respect your effort reminds you that you are not alone in facing challenges. Conversations with thoughtful individuals can provide perspective and reassurance during moments of doubt. Reflection after each experience is equally valuable. When you complete a task that once created fear, take time to acknowledge the progress made. Notice how the experience changed your understanding of your own ability. These reflections reinforce the belief that courage leads to growth. There will still be moments when fear returns. New challenges bring new uncertainties. This is a natural part of development. The difference is that each experience of facing fear adds strength to your mindset. Over time, you become more familiar with the process of moving through discomfort. Physical awareness can also help during moments of fear. The body may react with tension or rapid breathing when stress appears. Slowing your breathing and relaxing your posture can calm the nervous system. This physical adjustment allows clearer thinking and prevents fear from overwhelming your focus. Another helpful practice is directing attention toward the purpose behind your actions. When a goal carries meaning, it becomes easier to accept temporary discomfort. Reminding yourself why the effort matters strengthens determination and keeps attention on the larger objective. Progress often occurs just beyond the boundary of comfort. Many abilities remain hidden until a person steps into unfamiliar situations. When you face fear and continue moving forward, you create opportunities to discover strengths that might otherwise remain unused. A disciplined mindset understands that growth involves effort and uncertainty. It accepts that mistakes may occur and views them as part of the learning process. This perspective removes the pressure of perfection and allows experimentation and improvement. Fear can also become a guide for personal development. The situations that create the strongest hesitation often point toward areas where growth is possible. By gradually approaching these situations with preparation and patience, you expand your capabilities. Over time, the relationship with fear changes. Instead of being controlled by it, you begin to recognize it as a temporary feeling that appears during moments of challenge. The mind learns that action can continue even while the emotion is present. This transformation creates a sense of quiet confidence. The person who once avoided difficult opportunities now approaches them with curiosity and determination. Challenges become chances to develop new skills rather than reasons to retreat. Strong belief in your ability grows through these experiences. Each step forward confirms that courage produces progress. The mind begins to trust that persistence can overcome obstacles. Eventually, fear loses its ability to control your direction. It may still appear during important moments, yet it no longer decides your path. Instead, it becomes a signal that you are approaching something meaningful. When a person repeatedly faces fear and continues moving forward, they build resilience that influences every part of life. Decisions become clearer because they are guided by purpose rather than hesitation. Opportunities are approached with readiness rather than avoidance. Through this practice, a powerful lesson emerges. Growth does not come from waiting for the perfect moment of confidence. It comes from acting with belief even when the path feels uncertain. Each time you face fear directly and continue working toward your goals, you strengthen the foundation of courage within yourself. Over time, that courage becomes a reliable companion, guiding you toward a life shaped by determination, learning, and meaningful achievement. Chapter 13: Commit every day to growth, discipline, and purposeful living. Committing every day to growth, discipline, and purposeful living begins with the recognition that every choice shapes the direction of life. Each morning presents an opportunity to determine how energy, attention, and time will be spent. Small actions repeated consistently carry more power than occasional bursts of effort. Growth is not accidental. It is the product of intention applied consistently over long periods. Discipline is the mechanism that transforms intention into tangible results. The first step is defining what growth means in practical terms. This requires clarity about the areas of life that matter most. Skills, knowledge, health, relationships, and contribution to others are examples of dimensions where continuous improvement produces lasting impact. Without a clear understanding of what is important, energy can scatter across low-value activities, and progress becomes slow and uncertain. Once priorities are established, it is essential to create daily routines that reflect them. Habits form the backbone of purposeful living. Each routine, no matter how small, is a decision to invest in the person you aim to become. For example, dedicating 30 minutes to learning a new skill or writing down the day's goals each morning strengthens focus and reinforces the direction of effort. Consistency is critical. It is far better to perform small but meaningful actions every day than to attempt large efforts sporadically. Daily commitment builds momentum, and momentum reduces reliance on willpower. Over time, consistent practices accumulate into measurable improvement. Discipline grows stronger because repeated effort creates confidence in your ability to persist. Time management is an essential tool in committing to daily growth. Identify periods of the day when energy and focus are highest and allocate them to high-value activities. Protect this time from distractions and interruptions. Avoid allowing urgent but low-value tasks to dominate your schedule. Purposeful living requires intentional boundaries to ensure energy is directed toward meaningful outcomes. Reflection is another essential practice. Each evening, review the day and note what was accomplished, what was learned, and what can be improved. Reflection transforms ordinary experience into insight. By examining actions and results, the mind learns to identify patterns that contribute to success and areas where adjustments are needed. This feedback loop is critical for steady growth. Discipline is strengthened by setting clear standards for behavior and holding yourself accountable. Decide in advance what will be non-negotiable in your day and commit to following through. This may include consistent practice of a skill, adherence to healthy routines, or maintaining focus during work periods. Accountability can be internal through self-monitoring or external through trusted mentors or peers who support your development. Purposeful living also requires attention to mindset. Each day, consciously choose to approach challenges as opportunities to learn rather than obstacles to avoid. Replace reactive thinking with proactive decision-making. When setbacks occur, analyze them for lessons rather than allowing frustration or blame to dominate. Resilient mindset reinforces discipline because it keeps focus on the long-term goal rather than short-term discomfort. Energy management supports daily commitment. Without sufficient rest, proper nutrition, and regular movement, sustained effort becomes difficult. Physical health provides the foundation upon which mental clarity and emotional stability rest. Small routines like adequate sleep, proper hydration, and brief periods of exercise directly enhance the ability to act consistently toward meaningful goals. Clarity of purpose motivates consistent action. Write down the values, principles, and objectives that guide your life. Keep them visible as a reminder of why effort matters. This clarity transforms routine effort into a meaningful practice. Actions gain significance because they connect directly to a larger vision. Intentional learning strengthens daily growth. Each day, dedicate time to acquiring knowledge, practicing skills, or refining strategies that align with your purpose. Learning becomes more effective when paired with immediate application. By applying lessons directly to action, you transform information into capability, reinforcing both skill and confidence. Small, measurable goals maintain motivation. Break larger objectives into daily milestones that provide clear feedback on progress. Completing these mini goals generates a sense of accomplishment and sustains commitment. Over time, the accumulation of small victories builds toward significant transformation. Resilience is an important companion to discipline. Daily commitment is rarely perfect. Days will come when energy is low or unexpected challenges arise. The critical factor is returning to the routine quickly. Recovery after setbacks demonstrates the strength of discipline and ensures that temporary obstacles do not derail long-term progress. Purposeful living also requires mindful decision-making. Ask yourself before each choice whether it aligns with your priorities and contributes to growth. Avoid passive behavior that simply reacts to circumstance. Intentional decisions transform ordinary days into deliberate steps toward meaningful objectives. Accountability and support from others amplify discipline. Surround yourself with people who share commitment to growth or who respect your dedication. Regular check-ins with mentors or peers provide perspective, encouragement, and honest feedback. Social support creates reinforcement that strengthens persistence even when internal motivation falters. Journaling is a practical tool for reinforcing commitment. Document actions, insights, and reflections daily. Writing clarifies thought, solidifies learning, and provides a record of progress that can inspire confidence. Reviewing past entries reveals patterns of improvement and highlights the results of sustained effort. Daily rituals also support alignment with growth. Rituals reduce decision fatigue and ensure that important practices are consistently performed. Simple repeated actions such as reviewing goals each morning, planning critical tasks, or reflecting on the day each evening create a structure that guides behavior automatically and reliably. Purposeful living requires focusing on high-leverage actions. Not every task contributes equally to long-term growth. Learn to identify activities that produce significant results and prioritize them. Avoid allowing low-impact tasks to consume disproportionate time. Consistently investing in high-value actions amplifies the effect of daily effort, Discipline benefits from gradually increasing challenges. As skills and habits strengthen, introduce more complex or demanding tasks that push the boundaries of current ability. Incremental progression maintains engagement and ensures continued development without overwhelming energy reserves. Over time, daily commitment to growth and discipline shapes identity. Repeated choices, persistent action, and deliberate focus reinforce the understanding that you are someone who consistently invests in improvement. Identity becomes aligned with purpose, and behavior naturally follows this internalized sense of self. Purposeful living also involves balancing effort with reflection and adaptation. Evaluate the outcomes of consistent effort and adjust strategies when needed. Flexibility in method combined with steadfast commitment to core goals ensures that discipline remains effective rather than rigid and unproductive. Daily commitment strengthens not only skills but also character. Regular adherence to routines, responsible decision-making, and deliberate focus cultivate resilience, patience, and integrity. These qualities enhance every aspect of life and make meaningful achievement sustainable. Each day becomes an opportunity to reinforce growth, strengthen discipline, and act with purpose. Small, consistent steps accumulate, shaping a trajectory of continual improvement. By maintaining daily commitment, the gap between current reality and desired potential steadily narrows, transforming ordinary effort into extraordinary results.